Hello, thank you for joining us today. I'm Lindsay Amini, Director of Cultural Programs at Meridian, a nonpartisan, nonprofit diplomacy center that strengthens engagement between the United States and the world through diplomacy, leadership, and culture. Meridian, along with the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, work closely with the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs on Next Level, a music exchange program that focuses on building global community through hip-hop culture. Today, we are so excited for our second edition of Next Level Live. It's my pleasure to introduce our performing artists, Ryan Webb, aka Future, and Skeme Richards. Ryan is an education director for urban artistry and a community leader. He mentors people of all ages, creates dance curricula, conducts dance research, performs, lectures, and actively participates in cultural exchange, community building, preservation, and innovation. Ryan has traveled to more than 14 countries as a cultural ambassador, and in 2017, he went to Egypt with Next Level. Skeme is a professional DJ and music connoisseur who traveled to Ethiopia with Next Level this past January. He has a classic approach to his craft, digging and spinning genres across the board, from hip hop to house, funk and soul classics to disco, new disco to jazz, and beyond. While maintaining originality, Skeme keeps his first-class status as a true party rocker while also being an educator. We are also joined here by Next Level Director, Junious Brickhouse, and Founding Director, Mark Katz. Junious is based in the Washington, D.C. area, and along with serving as Director of Next Level, he serves as Director of Urban Artistry and is committed to community-based work and preserving hip-hop culture. Mark Katz is a professor of music at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and founding director of Next Level. His books include Capturing Sound, How Technology Has Changed Music, Groove Music, The Art and Cultural of the Hip Hop DJ, and his most recent publication, which is about Next Level, Build, The Power of Hip Hop Diplomacy in a Divided World. One more thing before we get started, please use the Q&A function to submit any questions you have to the group. And without further ado, here's Mark, and please enjoy the program.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. And thank you to Meridian for hosting this, and to all our friends in ECA for all their support. So as Lindsay mentioned, I'm the founding director of Next Level, and I'm just going to say a few words about Next Level. The mission of Next Level is to build global community through hip hop art and culture. And that's in keeping with ECA's mission, which is to connect the citizens of the US with the citizens of countries all around the world, and to promote peaceful, constructive relations between peoples of these countries. So let me tell you a little bit about the program. We started in 2014. In fact, it's been almost exactly 6 years since we had our original cycle and our first orientation, at which Junious Brickhouse was a participant. And we have now gone to about 35 countries over that time. And what we do, let me tell you a couple of distinctive aspects of Next Level. One is that it's the only program that's focused specifically on hip hop. In fact, it might be the only ECA program focused on a specific artistic genre. Another one is that we bring Next Level alumni back into the program to run the program. And in fact, Junious's presence as director is a testament to this. He started out as a performer in the Next Level Senegal residency, and then became associate director, co-director, and is now director. So actually, I want to turn to him with a question. This is about your concept of service to your country, Junious. One thing that I've always found very striking about Junious is that he served in the US military for many years and then was a contractor after that. So he served the United States as a soldier. And I've heard you say, Junious, that you feel that doing Next Level is a way of serving your country, but without a gun in your hand. So can you explain what you mean by that, and how you feel that hip hop can be a form of service to one's country?
Yeah, I think, this question is always an interesting one for me, and it's always changing, Mark, in different points in my life. I think when I reflect as a kid from the projects in Norfolk, Virginia, no one ever asked me what do I think about, being in the military and being in the Army and being a soldier, and I think when I think about service now, it's and when I think about service now, it has a strong connection to that kid, in the projects, like right now I'm trying to be the example that I wanted in my life, and I'm trying to be the person in communities that I always wanted to have in mind, that supported me artistically and personally. And as a soldier, and as a vet, there's a lot of healing that comes with that. When you leave service, at least for me, there's a period and a time of relaxing and calming myself down and reacclimating into civilian life, right? So I feel like now, as a servant to this community, working with Meridian and working with ECA, I get to serve communities abroad in a different way, with a different toolkit, with different experiences, and I know that some people ask that question based on the history with hip hop and government and authority, but I just have a different path. My live experience is different. I didn't grow up in a vacuum of hip hop. I grew up in many different areas that taught me different ways to be in service to community. So.
Thanks, Junious. And actually something that I think might surprise a lot of people is just touching on what you were saying about impressions of hip hop being sort of anti-authoritarian and anti-government, which is certainly part of it. But when we talk to a lot of our Next Level alumni, Next Level artists, many of them have family members who served in the military, who were civil servants, and many of them feel very strongly about that sense of service.
Yeah, and I said that in an interview not that long ago, Mark. I remember that, and it was in the context of, someone saying, "But you were a soldier," and it's like, yeah, but now I can go with a mic in my hand and not a gun, like I can do a different thing, and be in service, like in a different way.
Thanks. So why don't we continue our conversation with Ryan?
Yeah, I'm super excited, like about today's lineup, like Mark. Often we work with artists like in this context of, in the underground or in communities of practice, and having Ryan and Skeme with us at Next Level has just been a fulfilling thing for me personally, to see people from communities of practice like going abroad. Ryan, as Lindsay said, he's from this area. He's from Ashburn, Virginia, and full disclosure, him and I go back, we have history, about 15 years, and yeah, he's an amazing guy, a true tradition bearer, and co-founder of Funk and Focus as well, and joined us in Next Level Egypt. Ryan Webb.
Hey guys, how's it going? Appreciate you guys having me on. It means
Absolutely.
a lot.
Absolutely. How you feeling, man? What's going on with you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm over here at the Urban Artistry Studio in Wheaton. Just, getting out the house is nice about now, getting in this space with a floor to dance on and just kind of enjoying being in a new space right now.
Dope. I appreciate that. Listen, I want to jump right in, Ryan. I want to talk about some things that I know are near and dear to your heart. this idea, about being a tradition bearer, like your primary style is popping, you identify as a boogie boy. Like, tell us a little bit about what it means for you to be a tradition bearer in this particular tradition.
Sure. So, growing up in Ashburn, Virginia, there's no popping culture. Like it wasn't something people were doing in my high school. It was me who had interest and like two friends that I had gathered together, and we were like just messing around with it. But the deeper I went into understanding like how much of a cultural dance popping is, and learning about the communities that it came from, and starting to meet the people in those communities, receiving little lessons from them, and exchanging in terms of like bringing them maybe out to this area to participate in what we have going on with urban artistry. For me, like being that sort of tradition bearer was a big responsibility, because I'm not from those areas, I'm not from those neighborhoods. I didn't grow up, like I grew up with a lot of nice things. It wasn't so much of a struggle, but I wanted to be like a respectful representative of that culture. And for me, that meant meeting those people, creating opportunities with them, building relationships with them, and also trying to learn the style in an authentic way before I just kind of put my own flavor and twist on it right away.
So I hear this idea about heritage, and also making your own contributions. Like, so when you see yourself visiting other countries, I also hear you saying that you were doing diplomacy inside this country, like in different communities as well. But when you're out in other countries, like, what do you feel like your mission is? Like, what's your goal?
I think ultimately the goal is like to share with folks the mentalities and these like respectful methods that have been passed on to me, especially like I'm from Ashburn, but I wasn't from San Francisco to be like learning strutting like that. So for me, I was still kind of coming in a respectful way. So for folks overseas as well, like I think it's a similar situation. It's like they didn't grow up in these areas, and it might be something that they saw through popular media that gained their interest. So the mission is really like to just show that it's a tradition, and then to show how to respectfully be a part of this thing, and then also to not forget yourself in that. That's the last part, because sometimes people forget that in the process. It gets too much like doing it the exact way. And I think so when I go overseas, I also talk a lot about, what's your cultural heritage? How did you grow up? What are the things that are important to you? How do you use that in your art as well?
So thank you, Mark.
So Ryan, I had the pleasure of being in Egypt with you, and I remember we were looking at the pyramids, and here's a picture that I actually took of you in front of the pyramids. And I remember you saying that this had been a childhood dream of yours, and that it, aside from just going to Egypt, which is an amazing experience, this is something that you had been dreaming of for many years. So I have a two-part question. One is, can you tell us about that, and what did it mean to go to Egypt? And then also, now that you've been back, it's been a couple of years, how do you feel your relationship is to Egypt? Are you still in touch with people? Do you think about Egypt in a different way? So tell us first about your childhood dreams of Egypt, and then how you've been thinking about Egypt since you've been back.
Sure. So one of the styles that I was inspired by through like mainstream media was tutting, which is considered one of the styles under the umbrella term of popping. And this style it's an African-American art form and dance form, but it's inspired by the Egyptian hieroglyphics. And in the 70s, when they discovered Tutankhamun's tomb and they made all these exhibits in California, it became sort of mainstream, and Steve Martin had a song about it, and there was the Bugs Bunny cartoon where he's doing his Bugs Bunny tuts, and it was just something that people were imitating and creating art over here with. And it was one of the first styles I really fell in love with as a popper, and it was my best style, you know? So like, I didn't really have an actual connection to Egypt outside of that, but that had my like childlike spirit excited for anything Egyptian, because we love to like imitate these types of hieroglyphic images and movements. And it was like my favorite style. So I always thought it would be cool to go and be in Egypt and learn more about the culture of Egypt, and to go see the pyramids, of course, as one of the 7 wonders of the world. So for me, it was like just super exciting. And when I was in Egypt, I was just happy the whole trip, you know, because I felt like I finally got the chance to go there and actually meet people and see what it was like to eat food there, and hear people talk and see how people danced. So it was definitely an eye-opener. I met a lot of great dancers, a lot of great artists. I'm still in contact with some of the MCs that we did dance and MC collaborations with, as well as a few of the dancers. And I see that they're doing little music videos and things together. So it's been pretty, yeah, it was an amazing experience. Going to the pyramids was something I'll never forget. I remember all of us being inside the pyramid, like touching the wall and like feeling the energy in there vibrating so strong. And yeah, it's nothing but good memories. And for sure, I've made connections with these guys, and I'm still talking to them and helping them build little by little when they have questions.
Thanks so much for sharing that. And that's something I think that I know is actually very common among next level artists, is that they retain a very strong connection with the countries that they went to, and just care more about the people, about the affairs of that country. And I think that may be something that is overlooked about the power of cultural diplomacy, but it's not simply a way of giving or teaching. It's a two-way exchange, and we certainly get a lot out of that. So thanks so much, Ryan. Junious, do you want to turn to Skeme now?
Sure. So Skeme Richards, like when you say that name and in DC, like on the East Coast, like you're talking about a legend, like to us. You're talking about someone who has had so much influence, like on our dance scene, like particularly, like and also in a way where dancers want to learn, are inspired, and want to be DJs. Like that's how influential like this gentleman is. From the city of brotherly love, like definitely a music connoisseur and someone who's known as the Nostalgia King. Skeme Richards, where you at, son?
What's up? What's up? How's everybody?
What's good with you, man? How you doing today?
No complaints, man. Happy to be here. I want to, thank you guys for having me here. It's an honor, especially, being a part of Next Level and, traveling with you guys and, just building and sharing and, exchanging with each other. So thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. I think that one of my favorite things, like again, about this program is when people who are known in the hip hop underground, like spend time doing work with education and cultural affairs at the U.S. State Department. And we see them like connecting with communities globally as educators, as well as artists. And so it was a pleasure to have you join us. And I was able to spend time with you in Ethiopia. And I think one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about then, but we were really busy, running around there, is this idea about like digging, right? Like, you're known in many communities as the Nostalgia King for a lot of things, right? But
right.
Particularly this idea of finding these gems, you know, finding music that is like not known to a lot of people and bringing it to the forefront, like, and you've done that globally. So I want to ask you, like, how do you balance this idea of popular music and purpose?
Well, for me, I'm just following like a long line and tradition of DJs that came before me. Whether they were club DJs, whether they were radio DJs, or block party DJs. The idea of playing new music mixed in with more known music was always a thing. But the first and foremost thing of a DJ was to educate the listener. And that meant by playing new music that was undiscovered at that time. And it wasn't necessarily mainstream music. So I'm just following a long line of traditions of DJs that did that. And, I'm trying to carry on that particular culture. I've been fortunate and blessed enough to travel the globe and not have to play popular music. That's something that's a rarity. And a lot of established DJs have told me, that's a rarity because they have to stick to a particular formula or, an audience that wants to hear a certain thing from them. But for me, the audience kind of knows they're going to get something deeper with me. It's just not going to be surface level of the popular because anyone can play the popular. We all have, iTunes or Spotify or whatever, but I've made a great career out of not having to play the popular tunes. And, I can go deep and my audience expects that. If I give them surface level, they're questioning why I'm doing that, Yeah. And it really stuck in when I went to Russia back in 2010, I think it was. And the promoter he does one of the greatest funk and soul parties in the world. And he said to me, I said, what should I play? And he said, you know what? Don't play surface level. Go deep, because my crowd knows the deep versus the surface. So, I've just been blessed to be able to have a career playing deeper cuts.
And I say that, like, about digging, like to highlight one part of what you do, but I also want to highlight the skill in which you do it, like the technique, the ability to mix, and blend music and read a room. One of my favorite things about you. Could you give us a little bit of jewels about that? How do you feel about your ability to read the room?
Well, that's a gift. That's something that I've watched. Once again, I've watched great DJs do that. And, I feed off the energy of the room. And when the people are in a good mood, I can play in that same good mood and educate them. So it's a gift. It's a gift to be able to read the room. But, being able to do that comes with time and experience. And a quick story, one of the first times I ever actually had to play a party was 1982. And I'll never forget, I played the party and I cleared the floor. And my OG who taught me to DJ, who was the guy already, he told me, you know what, that'll never happen again, because from this point on, you're not allowed out in public to DJ until I say so. And it took that for me to realize, you know what, I'm never clearing the floor again. So it's just something like you over time you get, and you have the understanding of the floor, and it's it's like a wave. You understand how you're surfing the wave. And so after that point, never clear the floor again. And I just have that natural gift now where I can read a floor, see a floor, know how they want to go, know if they want to go R&B, if they want to go hip hop, if they want to go reggae, So yeah, it's definitely a gift.
That comes with patience.
Indeed it does.
That comes with patience. Thank you very much, Skeme. Mark?
Skeme, great to have you here, or have you with us. One thing that I'm really sad about is that I didn't get to go to Ethiopia with you, and I really wish I had been there with you. So maybe you could sort of share your perspective. allow us to see through your eyes what it was like to be in Ethiopia. So maybe some strong impressions that stayed with you, but also this a kind of follow-up question that is, can you tell us about a kind of one-on-one experience that you had with someone in Ethiopia? Because Next Level is called people-to-people diplomacy. That's what this program is about. It's about connecting US citizens with citizens of other countries. So tell us a little bit about your first impressions and what stuck with you in Ethiopia. And can you tell us a little story about the kind of people-to-people exchange that you had?
Well, my first impression is when we landed was chaos, because the airport is chaotic. But that's a good feeling for me. I love being in the middle of chaos. Like, my studio's in chaos. Like, I function best when it's like that. And, when we landed, it was amazing. Once we got into the classroom, the first impression of the people was, you guys are hungry. You're ready for this. You're not trying to waste any time doing this. So from there, I knew it was on. And luckily I came in with, a group of people who they knew what they wanted. Some of them were a little more advanced at what they were doing, but needed that guidance. Some were not, but that initial, they're ready was just amazing. Just being able to walk into there and know, like, it's about to be on. So the initial, it was almost what I expected before I even knew that's what I was expecting, because I knew, like, hip hop is global. And I knew they had some type of idea or concept of what they wanted to get out of this and what they wanted to learn. So yeah, that was walking in, it was just like, it's on, and I felt blessed. Like, it made my job that much easier and less stressed to be able to walk in like that and just know everyone's hungry, everyone's prepared, on time for class. So yeah, that was my first impression of it. As far as a one-on-one, there were a lot of great people in my class and a lot of hungry people. And there were actually multiple standouts. There was one young lady named Thunder 8. She was definitely a standout because she was the only female in the group, which is, amazing. Like, I love to see a female who can hold her own in a male-dominated, genre or room. But the standout for me in the real one-on-one came from Dave on the Track, who's an amazing producer, very established with his sound and what he does, and he blew me away. I was really impressed, and I'm sure Junious can attest to this. Like, blowing me away is kind of difficult to do. And, Dave, he just really, he blew me away. His production, his sound, his style, it was professional, and it was something that can compete with the best in the business. So we had a very good one-on-one relationship building. He followed us from Addis Ababa to Mekele. We had dinner. He wanted to take me digging to different spots. So yeah, that was the great one-on-one experience was with me and Dave. And still to this day, we keep in contact via Instagram. He tags me in everything he's doing, and it's just great. But I keep in contact with a few people from the class because there's so much talent there, and I want to help that talent grow and eventually, get out of Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that. I want to ask one more follow-up, and this actually will segue into our Q&A, because I've been keeping on the Q&A. Some people have asked about, for both you, Skeme, and Ryan, what you took away from the experience, how you have changed, whether either as an artist or as a person. So Skeme, can you tell us something that's really stayed with you that you took back from that experience?
Someone who has traveled the globe and has pretty much been to every country, I walk away with a little bit of that country and the people every time I leave. I tell people all the time, when they ask where I'm from, I always say wherever I'm laying my head that night, because I represent the people wherever I go, musically and culturally. So walking away from there, it was really like mind blowing in a sense. I walked away and I'm like, man, I mean, is this real? Like, I was just in Ethiopia, and you take how they're living now and you think about how we were living, say, in the 60s and 70s, and as like Junious, the projects, and like you see the hustle, you see the struggle, you see the hunger, you see, you feel the energy. So I walked away knowing like I came here and gave them a piece of me, and in return they gave me a piece of them. So when I come home, I can say they've got it going on in Ethiopia. There's something special. There's some talent there. So walking away, I felt like I took a piece of the country with me in my heart, and in return, that's going to come out into my music. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And also, I'll just say it's a common experience that traveling abroad through Next Level is very humbling because, we Americans sometimes think we're the greatest. And since the country invented hip hop, we might think that we have a special status, but we go places where we see, as you mentioned, a DJ in Ethiopia who could is as good as anyone in the world. So that's something that I've taken away from my experiences. But Ryan, what did you take home from Egypt? What has stayed with you?
For sure, the humility, like that's definitely a big thing. As even Skeme saying, I had a similar experience. My students were so ready. They had so much passion and fire. That was the thing that surprised me the most. I didn't know what styles to expect. I didn't know how good they would be practiced at certain styles, but they were ciphering before class started and jamming and dancing after class ended every day. Like they made me step up and have to like get in there with them and improve and show that I had heart. So they really like, I felt super humbled and almost, privileged or spoiled to like have so many opportunities here with dance and to be able to cipher whenever I want. And they were just going for it. Like at any moment they could, they were throwing down and really like jamming together. So I was mostly humbled, and I just felt like, wow, like this is a special place with special people and they really want this, so I was also glad to go and share what I could and help them to push that a little bit further. But that thing I couldn't teach, they had that already. Like, and that's something that's really hard to teach in general, wherever you go, but they had the fire. So I was mostly humbled.
Thanks for sharing that. So I'm looking at the Q&A, and I'm just going to quickly address a couple, and then I want to turn it over to Junious to take some too. Where the first question was about why this program is just for U.S. citizens, and actually this program serves people all around the world, but the people that we're talking to, what we call our artist educators, are all U.S. citizens because this is a U.S. State Department and U.S. taxpayer-funded program. But when we go to countries around the world, we also work with young people in all these different countries. And so they're also part of the program. And there's one thing that we haven't mentioned that is a really crucial part of Next Level is what we call Next Level Global. And that's where we select one artist from each of the residencies that we go to in a given cycle, and we invite them to the US for a 2-week artistic and professional development program. And so, in fact, the program isn't just for US citizens, but I thank you for asking that and for giving me a chance to clarify. Junious, there's an interesting question from Aaron Myers about how the current crisis might impact Next Level this year and into the future. So this is something I know you've been thinking a lot about as director. Could you tell us about how the pandemic is affecting Next Level?
Yes. First, peace to Aaron and Beantown Lockers. Hope you're doing well. I think it's fair to say that the pandemic of COVID-19 has impacted all of us personally and professionally. As far as the program goes, of course, we had to postpone one of our programs and cancel one residency in Bolivia. We have postponed our trip to Nepal until this fall. That being said, we're focused on what it is that we do, and we're artists. We educate. We want to connect with communities, and we're finding new ways to do that, not just online, but in other ways of communicating with people. I'm definitely a hands-on person, so like this thing of not being able to visit someone's community, sit down with them, look them in the face, shake their hand, and hear them talk about how it is they feel about their community. It's something that, you know, I think all of us miss, you know, so that I think it has had an impact on us. But I think I'm more focused on the people that we've lost and what that means. That privilege of being able to travel in the world and enjoy that is, to be honest with you, I'm not even concerned about that. You know, some of us have actually lost lives, people that we care about and that we love. So that's my first thing. And I think as a program, what we want to do is to let our extended families know that we love them and we care about them, and that their contributions to this global community is everything. So we're trying to do some housekeeping, take care of people at home, make sure that they stay healthy, try to find opportunities for them to participate in different programs and different opportunities funded by the State Department and Meridian International Center. So yeah, we're feeling it. But I think I don't feel like I'm alone in this. I think we're all feeling this thing, but we will persevere and we will keep moving.
Thanks for that. And I really appreciate how you and we think of the people that we work with as part of an extended family. This is not just a one-off experience. We continue to develop these relationships. And you mentioned some of the people we lost. One of them was Porto, an amazing dancer that we met in Egypt, and there was even a photo of him. So we keep them in our hearts. I want to address one question. I'll pass it back to you, Junious. This is from Orenia Ricky in Uganda. So thanks for tuning in from Uganda. We went to Kampala several years ago. Loved the experience, but something you point out, it's a very interesting question about just the sheer diversity of Uganda, having 53 tribes and dozens of different languages. How do we not kind of create or think of the countries we go to as kind of monolithic or simplify that sense of culture, as you say, not step on this with an urban culture? That's a constant challenge. I'll just say that is not something that's easy to do, given that we often spend time only in one place. But I will say, I did, even when I was in Uganda and talked to the people in Kampala, many of them represented a variety of different tribes, spoke different languages, had different traditions. And so we did, even though we were in the big city, we did get a sense of the diversity of the country. And another thing is that we often don't just stay in the capital, and we do go outside the capital and get to see some of the great diversity of the countries we visit. So thank you for asking that. And then one other thing that came up in your question was, how is Next Level supporting the development of the art sectors in the countries that the academies are hosted? One thing that's very important is that we donate equipment to all of the places we go to. So we donated a good bit of equipment when we were in Kampala, and we continue to keep in touch. I'm in touch with friends who run a breakfast jam in Kampala and a breakdance project Uganda. And so we actually continue, once we leave, we not only leave equipment for people to continue to use, but we continue to try to support and collaborate with people in all the places. So I used Uganda as an example, but Junious, I don't know if you want to expand on that or take another question or share it with one of our guests.
Sure. Why don't we have DJ Action on here who's asking, what advice or pointers would you give to the new next level artist educators to get the most out of their experience overseas? DJ Action will be joining us this year in Sri Lanka. And why don't we have give that question to Skeme and Ryan, and start with Skeme. What advice would you give to artist educators who will be participating in the future?
First of all, I would say be you, be uniquely you. That's first and foremost. You know, people can smell a fraud a mile away, you know, or, you know, smell when you're trying to sell them something and not buying. So be uniquely you. That's first and foremost the most important thing. Second of all is just going with an open mind, ear, and eyes. Because if you go in with the open ear, you're hearing what they're saying, right? And in return, you can respond, or you can, you know, open up first and they can hear what you're saying. So you have to go in with an open ear, you know, because everybody's going to want something different. So definitely going with an open ear, open mind, you know, going knowing there's new challenges that you've never experienced before because you're in a totally new place. So yeah, I would say that, like, open ear, you know, open mind, and just be uniquely you, because we're all individuals. So be who you are and bring to the table what you bring to the table.
Thank you very much, Skeme. Ryan, would you like to add to that?
Sure. The first thing that comes to mind is to early on get with your team and start talking about things that you can do together or throw around collaboration ideas. I think in Egypt we did that maybe on the second day, and it ended up paying off in the end because we had this thing with the MCs and the dancers doing something together on stage, which was pretty unique and different. But I think that was kind of special for our residency to see that, like, collaboration. So I think staying tight knit with your team just in general is an important thing. And that's where a lot of the ideas for collaborating can come. The other thing is, like Skeme saying, keep an open mind, because if you over plan, sometimes it's just not going to work out. Like, you need to go there and really feel out the students, because I wrote certain things out that I thought I would do, and that's not a bad idea to do that. But when you get there, you'll feel where the students are at, what the need might be, and you'll have to kind of on the spot make little tweaks to your plans and adjustments. So keeping an open mind for that, and just staying tight knit with your team.
Yeah, I would definitely say the most important tool is flexibility. You know, in this business, you have to be flexible and move with your audience. And that said, we're going to go into performances now. And on deck, you know, we have Skeme Richards, but Ryan's going to bless us now. So Ryan, representing Assassin's Crew, Urban Artistry, Funk and Focus, the Funky Tutter. Ryan, Future Webb.
Let's go.
It's funky.
Blessings, blessings. Thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate you.
No problem.
It's a good day.
Feeling good.
So next up, we have representing Next Level Ethiopia, also coming from Section 31, Rocksteady crew, the Nostalgia King, Skeme Richards. We appear to be having some technical difficulties here. Skeme probably needs to accept the message that he sent. So while we wait to get him involved here, we're waiting to switch over to Skeme.
You want me to get some more? I'm warmed up now.
You warmed up? It's time to go. Here we go again, the Nostalgia King, DJ Skeme Richard. Let's go. Blessings, blessings. We appreciate you so much. DJ Skeme Richards, everyone. So I want to take a minute to again thank Meridian International for having Next Level Live for us to be able to convene during these times and check in on each other and share our experiences and communicate with new communities. We truly appreciate you here and love you to death. With that, Lindsay Amini.
Great, thank you so much, Junious. Thank you, Mark. Incredible as always. And I just wanted to say thank you again to both Ryan and Skeme for joining us as well. If you want to learn more about Next Level, please visit our website at www.nextlevel-usa.org. And we also be hosting another one, our third edition of Next Level Live on June 11th. So please join us then, and thanks everyone, and please stay safe.